Hello everyone. I hope you all are doing well today. Just a brief update on Jaden. She came home from the hospital on Saturday and she's recuperating at home. So Jaden, if you're watching, we hope you get well really soon. Okay, let's get started. I want to review coordinating conjunctions with you. Remember, we call them fanboys for short because it helps us to remember the names of the words. And, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Whenever you're using a coordinating conjunction, keep in mind that they have to join the two same types of speech. They could join two verbs, like ran and jumped. The collies ran and jumped. Or they could join two nouns, either my dog or my brother, those are the nouns, ate my sandwich. They can also join two clauses, so not just single words. All right. Now, when we do our fix-it exercises, we mark the coordinating conjunctions with a CC above them, right? So I want to go over with you just some of the rules for using commas before a coordinating conjunction. So you use a comma before a coordinating conjunction when it joins two main clauses, like I just mentioned. And here's some examples. They had fought well in the wars, comma, but now they were out of work. Okay, there's your coordinating conjunction. There's the comma right before it. And this is a main clause. They had fought well in the wars. It could be a sentence on its own, but if you want to join it with a coordinating conjunction, you have to have a comma. And now they were out of work is another main clause that could stand alone as its own sentence. But if you want to join these two sentences together, you have a comma and then your conjunction. Another example. Usually Robin towered over others, comma, but the stranger was taller by a head. This is talking about Robin Hood. But you can see again we have two main clauses. Usually Robin towered over others, and the stranger was taller by a head. Those could be independent sentences on their own. But again, if you want to join them, you use a comma and a coordinating conjunction. Another time you use commas with coordinating conjunction is if it joins three or more items in a series. Okay, if you have he ran to the window, opened it, and vaulted out. Okay, those are three. What kind of words are these? Verbs. Ran, opened, and vaulted. So remember that I said when you use a coordinating conjunction, it has to join two of the same types of speech. Two verbs, two nouns, or two main clauses. So in this case, they're verbs. Ran, opened, and vaulted out. Okay, and notice you have the comma after he ran to the window, opened it, comma, and vaulted out. Here's another example. My students are named Roger, Brooks, and Jaden. Okay, so in this case, we have a list of three names, proper nouns. Roger, Brooks, and Jaden are all nouns. You wouldn't say, my students are named Roger, Brooks, and running down the street, because running down the street is a verb phrase. It's not a proper noun. So, we have the commas between each one and right before the coordinating conjunction. Okay, now if you have a list of two items in a series or a list, you don't use a comma. For instance, there were fine gardens and wide lawns. There's your coordinating conjunction, but there's no comma because there's only two items. Fine gardens and wide lawns. And another one, he bowed and walked away. Okay, here's a coordinating conjunction. It's joining two verbs, bowed and walked, but there's no comma because there's only two of them. Okay, so if you have three or more things, lists, or items in a series, whether they be verbs or nouns or phrases or clauses, remember to use commas after the first two and then a coordinating conjunction with the last one. All right, now just a review to make sure when you're doing your final copy of your Rome paragraph to include a number 2 prepositional opener and label it out in the margin with a number 2 like this so I can see where it is. Examples: in revenge for the Persian Wars, Alexander attacked Persia. There's your comma after the prepositional phrase. In is the preposition. The whole phrase is in revenge for the Persian Wars. So you have to have a comma right after that before you continue with the rest of your sentence. Outside my window. Outside is the preposition. My window is the outside my window is the prepositional phrase. Comma. I heard my dog barking at a squirrel. All right. So remember those when you're writing your final draft, if you haven't already included them. And remember also that a preposition, how do you know if it's a prepositional phrase or an adverbial phrase? Well, prepositional phrases have to have a preposition and a noun or a pronoun. Like on the new coffee table. There's your preposition, on. Table is your noun. Before the football game. Before is your preposition, game is your noun. After our delicious dinner. After is the preposition and dinner is the noun. And remember that there can be adjectives that come before the nouns or pronouns that they're describing. So these are prepositional phrases. There's no verbs in a prepositional phrase. Now, look at this one. Notice after here is a preposition. It can also act as a subordinating conjunction, just like your Asia B words. When, while, as, since, if, although, because. Now these Asia B words are some of the more common subordinating conjunctions. So that's why we have them in a list, because they're kind of easier to remember if there's just a few of them. But there are others, and after is one of them. So in this case, after eating our delicious dinner, notice we have this word here. What kind of word is that? Eating is a verb, right? So if you have a verb, it cannot be a prepositional phrase, because prepositional phrases have to have a preposition and a noun or pronoun, no verb. Okay, so this is a subordinating conjunction, a clause made there with that. It's not a prepositional phrase. Okay, the other sentence opener that we had latest is your ly adverb opener. It's basically just putting an adverb in the beginning of the sentence and adding a comma. Conveniently, my family has plenty of toilet paper. Or eventually, this awful pandemic will be over. You put your ly adverb, your comma, and then the rest of your sentence, and you're good to go. And remember, if you're using an ly adverb sentence opener, you need to put a number 3 out here in the margin to let you know where it is. All right. Now, one thing I want to remind you about is when you're writing your paragraphs, you must include one ly adverb opener and one regular ly adverb. You have to use one of each kind. You must include both. Okay? So if you have a sentence that, like one of these sentences that we just looked at, conveniently my family has plenty of toilet paper, this, you can't check this off as your ly adverb on your checklist and use it as your number 3 opener on your checklist. You can only use it for one or the other. So, you have to have both. Here's some examples. Presumably, Romulus and Remus were rescued by a she-wolf. In this case, here's your ly adverb, presumably. This is a number 3 sentence opener because it begins the sentence, and there's a comma after it. Next sentence. It is typically believed that Romulus and Remus were raised by shepherds. Typically here is an ly adverb, but it's not at the beginning of a sentence. So this one you're just going to underline. This one you put the number 3 out in the column, in the margin. So remember, you have to have both kinds. They don't have to be in the same sentence, but in the same paragraph. Here's another example. Unfortunately, Remus was killed and Romulus became king of Rome. Okay, what kind is this? This is a number 3 opener, so you label it out here. Eventually, Rome grew into a powerful city. That's also a number 3 ly adverb opener. It's right at the beginning of the sentence, followed by a comma. And the city of Rome ultimately became an enormous empire. This one is just your normal ly adverb. It's in the middle of the sentence, so it's not a number 3 opener. You're just going to underline that one to show me where it is. Okay, so remember you have to have both kinds, one of each, at least one of each. All right, who wants to do Fix-It? Today we're going to be doing 2 Fix-It exercises because we have to double up like I told you before. All right, let's get started. The soldier hurried to the king and plainly published to him how the matter stood. "Daughter," commanded the king, "return to their legitimate owners the cloak, the purse, and the horn, too." Defeated, the princess ordered her maid to fetch all 3, which she had hidden in her private chamber, where no one ever looked. She crossly handed them to the doctor and urged him to return them to the rightful owners. Okay, let's talk about vocabulary first. Published. Notice the word published here. The author could have just said, the soldier hurried to the king and said, but no, he used the word published. That's a very interesting and strong verb. It means made it publicly known. So he didn't whisper it in his ear, but he said it out loud so everybody could hear. All right, what else do we have? Legitimate. What does legitimate mean? It means lawful or rightful, the ones that truly own the cloak, the purse, and the horn. All right, so she told her maids to go fetch all 3. It makes you think of a dog playing fetch, right? Just means to go get something and return with it. And then crossly is a word we don't hear very much anymore, but it means in sort of an agitated or an irritated manner. That's how she handed them over. Okay, let's go. We're starting a new paragraph here because we're in a new place now, and instead of in the princess's chamber, the soldier is going to the king. So we're going to capitalize the T and the, which is an article. Soldier is a noun. Hurried is a verb. To the king is a prepositional phrase. Don't forget to underline your prepositional phrases. Do you see any verbs in this prepositional phrase? No. Because prepositional phrases only include a preposition and a noun. Could have an article or an adjective in here also, but no verbs. All right, and is your coordinating conjunction or fanboy. Plainly is your ly adverb. Published is a verb. To him is another prepositional phrase, so underline that. To is the preposition, him is the pronoun. The is an article. Matter is a noun, and stood is a verb. And this sentence ends with a period because it's not a question or an exclamation. All right, number 2, we have yet another paragraph. Because now, why do we have a new paragraph here? Now we have the king speaking. So whenever you change speakers or doers, in this case it's focusing on the soldier going to tell the king. In this case, it's the king talking to the princess, so you have to start a new paragraph. Daughter needs to be capitalized because it is the beginning of what he's saying. It is a noun. Notice the quotation marks and the comma. The comma comes after the R, but before the quotation marks. Don't put your punctuation outside of the quotation marks. It happens occasionally with a question mark, but not with commas. Commanded is a verb. The is an article. King is a noun. Comma, because we're going back to what he's saying. This is what he said. This is the words that are telling who's talking. And then we're going back to his speech. Returned is a verb. Return, excuse me. To their legitimate owners is a long prepositional phrase. So underline that whole thing. To is the preposition, and we're going to choose this form of the word their. This is a possessive pronoun. That means something that belongs to them. Legitimate is an adjective, and owners is a noun. The is an article. Cloak is a noun. The is an article. Purse is a noun. Coordinating conjunction. The is an article. Horn is a noun. 2, we're choosing this one because it means also. The cloak, the purse, and the horn also. You could substitute that word. And remember, when you add your period at the end of this sentence, it should be TOO period quotation marks. Okay? Make sure that period comes before the quotation mark. And here's an example of the list we were talking about with the commas. The cloak, comma, the purse, comma, and the horn. Here's your coordinating conjunction, and it's listing 3 things. They're all nouns, just like we talked about. All right, day 3. Defeated. Okay, we're starting another new paragraph because we're transitioning from the king speaking to the princess acting. So, new paragraph, indentation mark, capital D for defeated, which is an adjective. The is an article, princess is a noun. Ordered is a verb. Her is a pronoun, a possessive pronoun. Made is a noun. To fetch is one of those infinitive verbs. All is an adjective. Now here we have a who which clause. Notice there's a comma here and the word which. That signals it's a who which clause. She is a pronoun. Had is a verb. Hidden is a verb. Here's a prepositional phrase. In her private chamber. In is the preposition. Her is a pronoun. Private is an adjective. And chamber is a noun. No verbs here, right? Where is a clause. It's one of your A should be clausal openers. And looked at last is a verb. And we end with a period. Okay. Number 4, we're not starting a new paragraph because we're still continuing on with what the princess is doing. She is capitalized. It's a pronoun. Crossly is an ly adverb. Handed is a verb. Them is a pronoun. To the doctor is a prepositional phrase. To is the preposition. The is an article. Doctor is a noun. Okay? Now, crossly is an ly adverb telling how something is done. What is it telling? What is it explaining? It's explaining how she handed them to the doctor. She handed them very crossly. She probably maybe slapped them in his hands, or maybe she threw them at him. I don't know, but she wasn't very happy about it, was she? And is your coordinating conjunction. Urged is a verb. Him is a pronoun. To return an infinitive verb, which you don't have to mark, remember. Them is a pronoun. And last of all, we have to the rightful owners, which is your last prepositional phrase in this page. To is a preposition. The is an article. Rightful is an adjective, and owners is a noun. And again, we end up with a period. Okay? So that was week 32, and we're going to continue on with, I'm sorry, that was week 32. We're going to go back to week 31. Sorry about that. I had them out of order. Hope that doesn't mess up the story for you, but you've probably already read it. Okay. First of all, in this one, we are going to capitalize my, which is a pronoun. Arts is a noun. Now, arts in this case doesn't mean arts and crafts or painting or drawing. It is like a skill that's obtained by study or observation. So he says, my arts inform me that you must have stolen property about you. Inform is the verb. Me is the pronoun. You is a pronoun. Must is a verb. Have is a verb. Stolen is an adjective describing what? Property. What kind of property? Stolen property. And about you is a prepositional phrase. About is the preposition, and you is the pronoun. Ending with a period. All right, number 2. Number 2 starts with a clause. This is an A to B clausal opener, if. We have to capitalize it. Now, just to go back, this is the soldier disguised as the doctor talking here, right? In these 2 sentences. If you do not restore the pilfered goods. So we're going to change do not to don't. Why? Because we're making a contraction here, and contractions work well in stories. They don't work well for formal papers or research projects, but in a story or in conversation, they work better. So let's change this to don't. Do is the verb. Okay, restore is a verb. The is an article. Pilfered. What does pilfered mean? Pilfered is just another word for stolen. Okay, he could have used the word stolen again, but that would have been boring, so the author chose to use a different word that means the same thing to keep it interesting. That's an adjective, and goods is a noun. I needs to be capitalized whenever it's by itself because it is a personal pronoun. Can is a verb, do is a verb. Not is a noun, which means nothing. And here we have a prepositional phrase, for you. For is the preposition, you is the pronoun. And again, when you have a sentence that ends with the quotation marks, because this is all the doctor talking to the princess, make sure you put your period before you put your quotation marks. Day 3, we have another paragraph indentation because we're transitioning from the doctor speaking to the princess, and we're going to see what she's going to do. You capitalize the word the, it's an article. Princess is a noun. Stoutly is an ly adverb, which describes how she denied, which is a verb. And what does stoutly mean? Stubbornly or forcefully. She stoutly denied that she possessed anything of the kind. Me? Not me. She is a pronoun. Possessed is a verb. And we have a prepositional phrase here, of the kind. Of is a preposition, the is an article, and kind is a noun. We're going to end with a period there. Do you see any verbs in that prepositional phrase? Nope. All right, and day 4. We're starting a new paragraph. Why? Because the doctor is speaking now, so we have to start a new paragraph with a new speaker. Okay, it's or ips, which one are you going to choose? Let's choose this one because it makes more sense for the sentence. It's your choice. So it's better to say it is your choice than it's your choice. This is a contraction with it being the pronoun and is being the verb. Capitalize the I. Your is a pronoun, choice is a noun. Quotation marks are around what he says. And this is the speaker identification. Replied the doctor casually. Replied is a verb. The is an article. Doctor is a noun. Casually is an ly adverb. And what is casually describing? Ly adverbs describe verbs. It's describing how the doctor replied. He replied casually. It's your choice, he said. You may do as you please. You, we're going to capitalize because see, there's a period here, so this is going to be the beginning of a new sentence. It's a pronoun. May is a verb. Do is a verb. As is an A should be opener, or an A should be clausal opener. You is a pronoun. Please is a verb, in this case. But is a coordinating conjunction or fanboy. I am sure. Okay, we're going to change I am to I'm. Okay, just like we changed this one up here to the contraction, we're going to change I am to the contraction I'm. I apostrophe am. I is the pronoun, am is the verb. Okay. Sure is an adjective describing how he was. He was sure. I is a pronoun again. Am is a verb. And unmistaken is an adjective. Again, we have the end of a quotation, put the period before the quotation mark. K-E-N period quotation marks. Okay. Now you may ask, why are we changing this one to a contraction but not this one? And you could change this one if you wanted to. That would be grammatically correct. But it flows a little nicer saying, but I'm sure I am mistaken. Okay. You could say, but I am sure I am mistaken, or you could say, but I'm sure I'm mistaken. but we're going to go with I'm sure I am mistaken. It just flows a little bit nicer. Okay, so that is our fix-it. Sorry I got them out of order, but this is week 31. We've done week 32, and the princess has been caught in her act of thievery, and now she has to make reparations. Okay, so part of your homework is going to be to, just like usual, rewrite your fix-it sentences with all the correct punctuation and capitalization and indentation. Okay, you just have 2 of them to do instead of 1. All right, now you will have a vocabulary quiz on Thursday. It's the last one. And we are only going up through lesson 17. This quiz in particular will be on words from lesson 8 through lesson 17. So those are the words that you need to concentrate on. Okay, so let's think about, what does evolve mean? To change, develop gradually. Revere, to regard with respect or fear. Durable is long-lasting. Adroit is a French word meaning expert in the use of hands, body, or skillful. To console, this is a verb, and it means to comfort someone. If someone is sad, you will try to console them and make them feel better. Profusely is abundantly or freely. Bleak is gloomy or depressing. This is an adjective. This is an ly adverb. Billowing is swelling and rising. This is a verb describing maybe smoke or a big balloon or something that's getting bigger and rising, maybe like the ash and the ash cloud at Mount Vesuvius. To extol is to praise highly. Resemble is a verb that means to be like or similar to someone or something else. You might resemble your parents or maybe your siblings. Exalted is raised in rank, praised and glorified. Ecstatic is full of energy. Okay, and that's not all. We have one more page to go over and then we'll be finished. All right, streak. A streak can be a noun or a verb. You might have a streak of red in your hair, but in this case, streak is a verb and it means to move fast or to leave some sort of a mark. Adorned means decorated. Explicit means clearly stated. I gave you explicit instructions. Awe is a mix of respect and fear and wonder. That's where we get the word awesome. Cease means to stop, of course. Tantalize, to tempt or tease with something just out of reach. Remember that with Tantalus. Chide is to scold or rebuke. Defy, to boldly refuse to obey or give in. Don't do that. Encase is to enclose. Deplete is to use up or reduce an amount. Stunning is having striking beauty or excellence. And to validate is a verb, and it means to prove something to be true. And resolute is an adjective. It means if you are resolute, you are determined and firm in purpose. All right, so your homework is to study for your final vocabulary quiz on lessons 8 to 17. Rewrite fix-its number 32 and 33, the ones that we did today. And just a note on fix-it, the last one will be a quiz. The very last fix-it, number 33, I will post the link to it on Thursday, and you're going to print it out and make all your markings, like I hope you have been doing, and send it to me. And I will grade it to see how well you've learned all of the parts of speech that we've been marking all year. Okay, I have confidence that you're going to do really well. Okay, and the last thing that is your homework is to write your final draft of your Rome paragraph. Make any last changes or corrections or additions or deletions. Don't forget to use your checklist. And on your last final copy or draft, don't include any labelings or underlining or highlighting or anything, because I want this to be your nice final draft that you can keep. Okay? So that is it. And I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you back here on Thursday. Okay? Bye-bye.